Do you get that feeling that the cost of living just seems to be going higher and higher and higher each and every month? Have you tried to look at ways in which you could cut down your costs and now you're at a loss? You're not exactly sure where to go in order to create some saving. Now, if you are paying extra on your chronic medication, or if you're having to foot the entire bill for chronic medication, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you exactly what you need to do in order to ensure that the medical aid is going to be covering it in full. Now, I'm Devanayka, and I help retirees and government individuals live the best life possible with the money they have. But this series is all about guiding you on medical aid secrets. So what is it that you need to do in order to ensure that your medical aid is the most comprehensive, but at the same time, you're having to pay something that's affordable? Now let's get started. The power of the secret I want to share with you lies in the long term. Now, if you're having to pay a premium towards your chronic medication, and I'll use an example here so that you could see it. Let's assume that you currently are paying 500 Rand extra. So the medical aid is not covering in full. You're having to pay 500 Rand extra every single month. Now, it might not seem like a lot initially, right? But when we take this over a 12-month period, suddenly it works out to 6,000 Rand. And if you project this over the next 10 years, so if I multiply this over a 10-year period, that means it's coming to 60,000 Rand. And imagine all the things you could do with 60,000 Rand. It's a sizable amount of money. So let's get started on the secret, right? What do you need to do in order to ensure that the medical aid covers the chronic medication in full? And the secret I want to share with you is just 3 letters, right? It's PMB. Now, PMB stands for prescribed minimum benefits. So prescribed minimum benefits. And what this is, it's basically the medical aid saying to you that there are certain things that they're going to be covering in full. And it does not matter which medical aid you're on. I'm going to say that again. It could be the most expensive medical aid to the cheapest medical aid in the market, right? Not health insurance, not life cover. Remember, this is medical aid. So if you have a proper medical aid, it doesn't matter what your premium is. They all offer you this facility called PMB, right? Prescribed minimum benefits. And in that is a list of chronic conditions that you can have where the medical aid covers the cost of those medications, right? Now let's explain this in detail. I'll use an example. You could have, let's say, diabetes. It's a chronic condition, and I'll use one more example, let's say high blood pressure. So these are 2 chronic conditions that are covered as part of the prescribed minimum benefits. Now, what's actually taking place here? Why is it that in some instances, the medical aid is covering a particular medication in full because of this prescribed minimum benefit, and in some instances, they're not covering it in full? Well, it all depends on your medical aid option. Let's take a look. You have medical aid that ranges from a different perspective, again, based on the premium that you're paying. You could have, I'll list it here as the most comprehensive, and you know that that is going to be the most expensive, right? And then all the way down here to the least comprehensive. Now, in terms of your prescribed minimum benefits, it's not saying that you're not going to qualify, right? You'll get it no matter whether you have the most comprehensive or the least comprehensive. But the secret behind this is you want to figure out from the medical aid, what is their formulary? So what is their formulary for the chronic medication? And a formulary is simply this. The least expensive option is going to be telling you that they will cover you for chronic medication, diabetes, as well as high blood pressure. And in my example, let's assume that the lowest medical aid option says they'll cover you for, let's just assume 5 different types of chronic conditions, right? Or 5 different types of medication for diabetes, 5 different types of medication for high blood pressure. Again, it's just an example. The most comprehensive option could say, look, we're going to be covering you with 50 different types of medication for diabetes, 50 different types of medication for high blood pressure. So here's what happens. Your doctor then has to prescribe something that's part of the formulary. So if you are in the least comprehensive option, your doctor has to prescribe one of the medications that's part of the list of 5 chronic medications that's covered. Let's just assume that your doctor prescribes a medication, I'll call it ABC, and ABC is not part of the list. It's not part of the 5. Then it means you have to make a co-payment or you have to pay for that particular medication in full. Right? Now, it could be that ABC is covered in the most comprehensive option. So it might be covered here. because there's a wider range, right? There's 50 different types of chronic medication cover here, like I'm giving you in the example. Now, does it mean that you've got to change to the most expensive medical aid? No, because then it means that it's going to be it could be too unaffordable, right? Too expensive for you. All you need to do is reach out to your medical aid and tell them to send you a copy of the formulary. That formulary is basically a listing of what medications going to be available, again, based on the different types of chronic medication that scheme's covering. So in the formulary, for example, for diabetes, it will list all the medication that's covered for diabetes. For high blood pressure, it will list all the medication that's covered for high blood pressure, and so on for each of the different types of chronic conditions that are covered. Then you take that chronic medication list, that formulary, and you supply that to your doctor. And your doctor now has the list of chronic medication that's going to be covered in full, right? It could be 5 again. And let's say that those 5, there's now a particular one of the 5, the doctor says, hey, if you have to take this medication, X, Y, Z, it will be covered in full. Now, because it's part of the list of 5, it's covered in full. Right? Now, again, that could also be part of the most comprehensive list because there's a whole 50 that's in here. But you don't have to migrate to a more expensive option. All you need to do is let your doctor know, this is a formulary. Please prescribe something that's inside the formulary in order to ensure that you don't have to pay out of your pocket. So that's the secret. Now, there could be instances where the doctor says, look, there's a reason you've got to take this particular medication, even though it's not on the list, right? Maybe it's part of maybe this medication could conflict with another medication that you have, right? If that's the case and it's not on the list, you still have some options available. Let's go through what you could do. One is you could go to the next level up. And in order to know whether the next level higher on the medical aid is going to cover it, it's simple. You just need to send an email to the medical aid company and tell them, look, I need this medication to be covered. What's the next option that is available where this will be covered in full? So the medical aid could tell you, hey, we have this option here, and I'll put it as the middle option. So if they tell you, look, this is the middle option, and the middle option now covers ABC in full, then you want to have a look at the pricing, right? What's the difference in price between these two options? Can you afford it? You also want to have a look at whether it's worthwhile. Now, pay very careful attention because this is another secret most people are not very familiar with. The chronic medication might cost you, let's use an example of 200 Rand per month. So that's how much more it is. Now, if the middle option is going to be covering you in full, but the middle option says, hey, in order for you to get to this, you've got to pay 1,000 Rand extra every month. So notice what's happening. In order for you to have chronic medication covered in full, you're paying 1,000 Rand, you're getting a 200 Rand a month saving. Whereas you could stay on the option that you have on right now, and you simply pay the extra 200 Rand to cover the chronic medication. So you want to weigh those options, right? You don't just want to change. And the secret is you want to notify the medical aid of your medication so that they can give you the options. What's the next plan for you? The next solution that you could have is you could create some type of savings. Now, I'll share this in another video, how to use the savings to your best benefit. But what the savings is you could tell the medical aid that you want to add a savings, and that savings could be, for example, 500 Rand a month. You can choose an amount that's affordable. And then when chronic medication is being paid, it comes out of the savings that you've created. Now, you could do that savings inside of your medical aid. This is one option. Alternatively, you could say that you want to opt for a savings benefit, but you want to do it outside of your medical aid. So you could use a bank account and you could create that savings, call it a medical savings account, and then you use that towards paying for your chronic medication. Now, important for you here, if you are paying for anything in cash, you need to ensure that you're keeping the receipts for it, because when you're submitting your tax return, you could then submit that, and this is going to help you with your taxes, right? It can help you claim, so you can get a higher refund or you can get some money back. So it's not like you've got to pay all of this out of your pocket. So now you know the secret. The key is easy. You just need to notify your doctor of the formulary, and you do that by reaching out to the medical aid, asking them to send you the latest formulary. They'll provide you the list for free. If the medication on the list is available, if it's there, that means the doctor's choosing something that's from the list, you know it's covered in full. If the doctor is not choosing something from the formulary, you just need to tell the doctor, look, here's the list. Can you recommend something on this list that, and if you do that, then the medication is going to be covered in full. If for some reason the doctor can't, you still need to go one step further, check to see how much it will be to cost on a monthly basis if you pay this cash. And then you also want to check to see with the medical aid, if you go with a higher option where it's covered, how much extra is that premium? And you want to compare the difference, right? In my example, I said ABC is costing you 200 Rand, but the next level up is costing you 1,000 Rand, so it didn't make sense. But what if we change this? So what if in order to get the medication, it was costing you 2,000 Rand a month? So quite a lot more for the medication. And the next level up in terms of medical aid just needs an extra 1,000 Rand. Then it's affordable because you're having to pay 2,000 Rand normally if you didn't have it on the medical aid. But here, if you're going with a higher option, it's costing you 1,000 Rand and saving you 1,000 Rand. So you want to watch this video again if you need some clarity on the two options that you have going forward. But planning this thing well, you can put yourself in a position where you can get the chronic medication to be covered in full, right? Bearing in mind, this is what is called prescribed minimum benefits, which every single medical aid has. Now, if you happen to be diagnosed with a different chronic medication or a set of like a chronic illness, you simply need to do the same step, right? You get your formulary, supply that to your doctor, and check to see what's going to be on the list. As long as the doctor is prescribing something from the list, you know that this is going to be covered in full. Great. You can also check with your medical aid on a regular basis because sometimes they might add options in, especially at the start of each year because they bring out new sets of benefits. Now, if you found the video helpful, give me the thumbs up so I know that this is helping you. In addition to that, I want you to post the comments below. So share with me how this has helped you. Has this actually helped you to create some type of savings in your medical aid? Have you been able to create a savings in terms of chronic medication? So comment below and I'll make sure I personally reply to you. Remember to watch the future videos in this series so that you can understand how to get your medical aid to be the most comprehensive without having to pay the highest fee possible. If you've not already subscribed to the videos or to the channel, I suggest that you do so that I'm able to continue adding more value to you.